experience is a totally different ballgame. Even sadhus, when they take sannyas, and you ask them, what religion do you follow? They say, I'm a Hindu or I'm a Muslim or something. The knowledge of Hinduism or Muslim is given by the society. The traditions of Hinduism and Muslims has been going on for thousands of years. You grow up, you learn all this. Once you become sadhu, you give up everything. You're trying to reach to a state of formlessness. Where is Hindu? Where is Muslim? Once you go within, you realize your field, inner field, or depth of consciousness. Can you tell whether you are Hindu or Muslim? Can you tell you are a male or a female? There is no femininity to the consciousness. There is no masculinity to the consciousness. There is no age to the consciousness. At age of 5, if you meditate, or at age of 90, you meditate, the same consciousness will be the same thing. Consciousness has no age. I have one Punjabi couple I make house call once in a while. And the guy, he's very depressed. He's very demanding. He's becoming very feeble. He's 84, 85-year-old. Has a liver cancer. And little by little, he's fading, but he's just not happy. He's so nervous and this and that and all that. So once in a while, and wife on the other hand, she believes a lot in, he does a lot of rituals, and she's very content at least, But then I sit down and I tell him, I said, have you ever meditated? Nobody has meditated. So I explained to them. I said, all this clinging to the life, because there are 5 layers of 5 kleshas that Patanjali has described. I said, do you know what is Abhinivesh? She says, no, I don't know what is Abhinivesh. I said, Abhinivesh is clinging to life. Clinging to life for the answers. There was a time when you were hungry. You said, all right, I'm going to work. I'm going to get some food so that my hunger will be satisfied. Then you were thirsty. Society gave you the water. Then you got married. Then you had children. All these things, they were happening. You needed some money, so you worked, you got it. All this, your needs were met by the society. So you have a tendency to fall on the society to the point that he's clinging so hard that he's not ready to give up this life yet. And he's very worried, he's very anxious, he's very depressed. Someday he'll have to die. So I said, do you know what is the reason for Abhinivesh? So the second layer of Abhinivesh, why do we ask things from life? Why do we believe that life is going to give me something? Because if I have a faith in life that life will give me something, I'm going to make efforts. If not today, 2 days later, 2 months later, 2 years later, I'm going to have my $1,000, $10,000, or $100,000, whatever. I'm expecting the life to give me something. Now, so our tendency to fall back to the life again and again and again makes us dependent on the life itself to look for some solution. Anything could be your pleasure, money, wealth, whatever, right? So I said, what is the reason for Abhinivesh? There are 2 reasons why we are attached to life. One is raga, another is dvesh. Both are type of attachment. If I like carrot cake, I'm going to go after carrot cake. If I hate carrots, I'm going to walk away from carrots. But at both level, I'm registering something outside at the material level, which is the duality level. My mind is torn one way or the other. So the second layer and the third layer is rag and dvesh. So if I'm attached to something, I'm going to work towards to getting it more and more. If I hate something, I'm going to make sure I run away and stay away from this as much as possible. But every single motion of me is decided by outside world, whether I like it or not like it. So rag and dvesh, again, you are still living within the society. So that's the Abhinivesh, the cause of that is rag or the dvesh. So there are 3 kleshas. The 4th klesha, why do we have rag and dvesh? Things that you like, I may not like. Things that I like, he may not like. Everybody has different likes and dislikes. That's because of our vrittis and vasanas. So our vrittis and vasanas are defined at asmita level, I amness. For me to have my individual vrittis and vasanas, I have to be defining myself, that I am such and such person I like this, I don't like this. So I'm walking around with my vrittis and vasanas all the time. And that is the reason of my raga and dvesh. And that's the reason of my clinging to the life. So ultimately we coming to the fourth layer is asmita. And what is the reason for asmita? Reason for asmita. Asmita means I amness. Asmi. Asmi means I am. So what is the reason for asmita? Is the lack of vidya. So spiritual knowledge, this is where it comes in. That we think that we are this. We think that I am such and such person. We have identified ourselves with our physical forms, and that has led to all this rigmarole of likes and dislikes and running in, and then cycle has gone all the time. So when the real vidya happens, is the lack of vidya, avidya, that we are the spirit, we are the formless state, Atma, and not the physical body. That has led to all these things. So 5 kleshas in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, that has described beautifully how from a formless state we downgraded ourselves to the human level and running after we have never stopped running. So we walk around with all these identifications. It's all this knowledge that is given to us by the society. So that's why even after we become sadhu or sannyasi, go to Himalayas, we can still be Hindu. But it doesn't have to be that way. So knowledge has such a grip on you that it just does not give up. The journey of knowledge is the journey of ego. Because anywhere you go in the world of knowledge, you have to have ego, your identification, self-identification, and your likes and dislikes. You have to walk around with that, otherwise you cannot function, right? So, but when we want to have the journey into within yourself, ego has to be dissolved. And when the ego disappears, that's when the journey within starts. But for the ego to disappear, you have to become innocent, like a child. You have to say that I don't know. I don't know a lot of things that I would like to know. Maybe you will never know. And grand chances are you will never know. Because this is not the thing of knowledge. And Deepak had raised the question that they said, because that itself becomes a journey, that you want to know something, right? But it's not the knowledge, it's a journey of a different kind. That once you say that you don't know something, then you can say, okay, then at least you go into the journey of unknown. But when that happens, at some point, the knower, the knowable, and the knowledge, everything merges into one. And you have a single experience where you have an experience of ultimate bliss, an ultimate state of satisfaction. And that is hard to get. And that's the bliss. So a lot of times we reach to that state time to time, right? But to remain in that state 24/7 is enlightenment. So that's why it's so difficult. But you reach to that state. If you go deeper and deeper and deeper, there will be experiences will happen that you just, it's filled of silence. It's just absolute silence. And there is nothing else. And at that time, you can't even differentiate that whoever is doing the journey itself, and the goal of the journey all in one. Imagine if you have to make X amount of money and get Ferrari, for example. All the efforts that you do, and then ultimately you do get Ferrari, and the pleasure you get. In this journey, the pleasure, the journey, and yourself all become one. So why won't you don't have to go through the efforts of owning a Ferrari. You have that satisfaction itself deep within, without the Ferrari. So that is a state that can be talked about, but only you can know it by experience. So the question is, we have to stop calling wrong things wrong and right things right. We have not been able to put the importance to the right activity. That's why our activities are all going towards the outside world. And then we keep on going again and again the same circles. So sometimes you cannot make out how do you differentiate. So Mullah Nasruddin was asked once by his neighbor, because his neighbor planted some flowers. And the flowers came out, but then along with all the weeds came, right? So he asked Mullah, he said, Mullah, how do I differentiate what is the right flower, what is the right plant and what's the wrong plant? Mullah Nasruddin says, it's easy. He said, take everything out. And whatever grows, everything by itself is weed. Whatever you have to make efforts is the real thing. So you walk around, how many times it's easy to get invited to parties. How easy it is to get the knowledge of this and knowledge. Come on, have fun. Come and do this. Come on, do that. You have advertisement. Come on, do this. You don't see a single advertisement from God. Where is the advertisement? So that is something you have to make efforts for. Everything else is easy. They are growing like weeds. And weeds are useless. Weeds don't take you anywhere. They don't bear the flowers. They don't do anything for you. They don't take you anywhere till you die. You keep on going in these circles all the time. But weeds are so easy to grow. It does not require any effort. It does not does that require any effort to steal? Does that require any efforts to lie? We lie, right and left. Oh, I'll be right there. I just left. I am still here. Small things. Forget about major lies, of course.
It's not even, we lie when it's not even necessary to lie.
Exactly. But it's so easy. So whatever is easy is not worth going after. Sitting in dhyan is tough. Oh no, I have no time. I want to come to your lecture, but oh no, I have so many things to do. These are all the efforts going in a wrong direction. We don't realize what is the right direction and what is the wrong direction. So our direction is wrong. And that's why we have to think of Mullah Nasruddin. Whenever things grow by itself, they are weeds. When you have to make effort, that's the real flowers. All right? So much for today.
All right, good.